So we'll base those in. I'm just going to use my liner brush for this. Hopefully I'm steady enough to get these little eyes right. So we are being shared over, hopefully soon. I haven't seen Miss Tracy just yet, but hopefully she's sharing us over into the Craft Around the Clock group. And if you're not a part of the Craft Around the Clock group, I've put the link at the top of this live post. Make sure you go over there and join that group to watch lots more crafting. Sorry, I'm just concentrating, trying to get these little eyes based in here. All right, and then the nose we're going to base with some of the pink. She may have forgotten me. All right, so we're just going to use the same pink color that we used for the background on the nose. And then we're going to give this a good dry so I don't smudge it in any way. So I'm Yvette from Old Times Paint Parties, because I didn't introduce myself right off the hop because I was waiting to see if I was shared into the group over there. But if you are not a part of my page, make sure you give it a follow at the top of the page and let me know if you're new here. I think my poor little nose just got a little bigger, but that's okay. All right, so we'll give this a quick dry. Yeah, sure, Sue. Go pop over and see if she's shared me over. She may have already. Sometimes she pops in and says hello and lets me know that I'm shared, but she may have done it. She just didn't let me know. That's okay. If you're watching from the Craft Around the Clock group, you can let me know if it's streaming over there. But we're here until 10. So hopefully we should be able to get this little man done. All right, so we're going to just shade around the eyes just a smidge with some gray. So we're using the light gray color that we used to shade the rest of our buddy. And let me know if you tuned in for the last segment and watched the first part. If you haven't, it's also here on my page and still in the Craft Around the Clock group as well if you want to watch the first part. And the template is also available, and that link is at the top of this post as well. My Linktree links are all together there. Just putting a little gray around the nose, and then we're going to put a little bit around the eyes. And I don't want it too dark. Just a little hint of gray around there, just to give a little depth. So we'll get this bunny done first, and then we'll finish up the flowers at the bottom. We have most of them in place. We just have to put our daisies in there. Okay, and then we're going to use a little bit of the darker pink to shade the nose. Okay, and then inside the eyes, we're going to shade with a little bit of that gray along the bottom edge of the eyes themselves. So right in here on this black, get some of that water off my brush first. Right inside here on that black area. Like so. And then we have a dot to add in there as well, but we won't put that dot on just yet because I will surely smudge it. So we'll do that in a minute. So I'm just going to go along the mouth here as well with some of that gray and just put that in here. It's just a tiny little mouth there. Okay, and then we can put a little bit of pink on his cheeks. I'll grab this brush. So we're just going to dry brush a little bit of pink onto the cheeks. Okay, well, she'll figure it out, I'm sure, and she'll share us over there eventually. It's okay. All right. All right, a little bit of pink on the cheeks. And then we're going to take our liner brush and some of that slate gray, and we're just going to put a few little outline around the whole bunny, just to give him a little bit of a look of fluffiness. So we're going to start over here with the, oh, she sent a, oh yeah, she just discovered me, I think. She just said there was a bit of a delay. It's all good. I think I'm over there now. So we're just adding some nice fine little hairs around the outer edge of the ears with some of this gray. And I'm just watering my paint down so that I can do this. So we're just kind of bringing them off the edge there a little bit. And we'll do the other one. And we're going to do this around his face as well. And I'll start up here at the top of his head, and we'll put a few little stray hairs kind of poking straight up. And then we'll go around his head. And you can put some down in here in these little areas in between where his face is kind of poking out. And then I'm going to take some white and just go on the inside of his ears. There where this harsh line is here, we want to just add a few little hairs there too. So we'll use a bit of white there. Bring that right up into that pink area. So that just gives him a little bit of an illusion that he's fluffy. Yeah, he's starting to come alive now for sure. Ooh, we got into some pink. Let's try that again, friends. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And then you can also take a little bit of that gray and add a few little stray hairs on his head if you like. Just here and there. Those got a little dark, mind you. We're going to leave them as such so we don't mess with it. All right, and then I'm going to add some little eyelashes off the edge of his eyes. Still using my liner brush. So right here at the top, I'm just going to bring one little swoop down. I don't know if you guys can see that well. One little swoop off there like a wing, you know, like if you were putting your own makeup on, if you use wings on your eyes. You just take one little swipe there, and then we'll just add a few more around it. Like so. He has little eyelashes. So we'll do the same thing over here. I just have to turn it a bit so I can do this right with my hand that way. So just one little wing, and then just add a couple on top and a couple on the bottom. Like so. Okay, and then we're going to put a little white highlight on the top of his nose. And we just have some whiskers to add. So I'm going to use that same light gray color for his whiskers. We'll get those in place, and then we'll add his eye dots after we transfer on a few flowers down here, because they take a little bit to dry. So we're going to put 3 longer ones and then a short one down here at the bottom a bit, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. A short one down there, and then we'll do the same thing over here. Just got to turn this a smidge. Okay. I think they got a little off kilter there. This one's a little bit closer than the others. I don't know if I can make it look a little bit more the same by extending these down here. Maybe we'll try that. Okay. I'm just going to dry that quick, and then I'm going to add the flowers onto, or the centers of the flowers onto here before I add those eye dots. So, I mean, I free-handed my flowers, but on the line drawing that you'll get, they are in place here. So we're just going to place them where we have on the line drawing. But I just want the centers of each of these flowers. So we're just going to mark where those are, and we'll freehand the petals in. If I miss one, I can just freehand it in there. All right, and then we're going to take a little bit, let's put our buddy's eye dots in so that he can see, because once the dots get in there, it changes the whole look. So let's just take a little bit of white. We'll put a dot here and one here. So now he can see, he's peeking right over that, over those flowers. All right, so he's basically done. So we just need to add our daisies down here. I'm going to back up just a little bit more so you can see all of this. There we go. All right, I'm going to get a round brush here, and we'll just kind of, we'll place our centers. We'll probably add more once we get our petals in here, but we want to just find where these little flowers are going to be. So we'll just put a coat of marigold here on these centers. And hopefully I can see where these little circles are. And we have our big one here in the center. So these will be all of our little daisies. Bigger one in there. I'm just trying to see, did I miss any? I think I have them all. I think so. Okay. So what we're going to do next is we're going to start pulling in our petals. So we're going to use some white. Hello, Miss Linda. How are you? Okay. With me so far. So I'm just going to use some plain white paint. I'm going to use my number 4 round, and I'm going to get quite a good blob of paint on the brush. So we'll start here with this big one, and we're just going to push down and pull the petal in all the way around our flower. I mean, you can give it as many petals as you want, but just push down and then kind of bring the pressure off the brush when you bring it back in. And that makes a pretty decent little petal. Trying to get my hand maneuvered in the funny contortions here. All right, so there's our big center one. We'll do this one over here, this other big one. So I'm going to put some shorter petals on the back side of this one. And by doing that, it just changes the profile of your flower. So it kind of looks like it's tilted at a different sort of angle. And then as I get down here, I'll put some larger ones on this side. Excuse the funny shaped petals because I'm trying to not have to turn this so much. Hello, Karina. And then we have another large one here that I'm kind of going to do looking at the side of it. So we're going to put 2 small petals on either end and some bigger ones down here. And then we'll put a short one here. So it looks like we're just looking at the side of that one. And then for our other small daisies, I'm going to use my little liner brush, and I'm going to get a good amount of paint on my little liner, and I'm going to do the same thing, but because these are smaller, I needed a smaller brush. So we're just going to put our tinier petals around these ones. Same thing though, you're going to just push down and then bring the pressure up as you get to the center of the flower. And again, trying to stay out of wet paint is a challenge for me. Who doesn't love a good challenge though? All right, so there, we're just pulling those little petals in, and we're going to go all the way around and do the same thing on all of the others. So you don't have to think about this too much. That's the trick, is just kind of pull those petals in real quick without too much thought. And we have another little one up here. That was a good blob of paint on there. It's a bit much. You want a good amount so that you want to make your petals pretty good and thick, because then you don't have to, when they dry, you don't have to, maybe go back in and put a little bit more on, but you might not have to at all if you have your paint thick enough. One coat might be just fine. And you'll know when they dry, of course, if they are covered well enough. All right, and we have a couple more here to do. And we'll do a sideways one here again. A side view one, I should say. And then we have 2 more, I think. Yeah, 2 more to do. And I mean, you can add as many as you want. You don't have to stop at this many. There's no rules as to how many flowers you have in your patch. I did get into some of that wet paint. See, it happens to me all the time. I cannot be trusted with the wet paint. All right, and one more over here. We'll put a few little short ones on this back side. Okay, so there's our little daisies. Now we're going to just give that a quick dry. I think we have time to do that. And then, I know, I'm terrible with the wet paint. It's like my hands are in it all the time. We'll give this a quick dry, and then we'll go back in and we'll now fix up our centers of our flowers because we just have the one coat on there right now, and we want to do a little shading, a little highlighting on there. So we're going to come back in with our yellow, and we're just going to now straighten this up because your petals may have gone into that little center there. So you just want to straighten those back up to the circles that they should be, or ovals. And then we're going to dry them again because we need to add a little bit of shade and highlight on these. All right, so now we can see those a little better. We'll dry them quick, and we're going to shade the bottoms with a little bit of darker orange and a little bit of that burnt umber. He's looking pretty good. I think they might be drying up there, so we're going to get our darker orange and a little bit of burnt umber, and then we're going to highlight with a lighter yellow. So we have 3 colors we'll get out here on our little plate. Maybe, there we go. All right. So with the template, you would get the line drawing, the supply list, all the color names and everything, and a color photo. And then also you can refer back to this 2 parts of these videos here as well to watch the tutorial. So that's what's included in that if you decide to paint your own. So I have the darker orange now, and we're just going to go on the bottom side of each of these centers with that color. What's our time like? We got 15 minutes. We'll get all this on. We'll give it another quick dry, and then we'll add a little bit of burnt umber on the bottom edge of that orange, just to darken it down a little bit. A little bit of burnt umber, and we don't want to cover up our orange. We just want to go right on that bottom edge just to darken that bottom edge down there. Now I think that I tried to share over into YouTube tonight as well, but I don't think it connected. But so if it didn't, I'll upload this part 2 to go along with the other part that's in there as well too. So there's various places you can watch. You can watch in Craft Around the Clock back here on my page and in the YouTube. We're everywhere. All right, so we're just finishing up these, and then we'll put our little lighter yellow highlight on the top edge of each of these. I missed one entire flower altogether. So we'll put our orange in here. We'll let that dry for a second while we're working on our other ones. All right, so we're going to come in with our lighter yellow, and we're just going to highlight a little bit of that on that top edge. And again, you don't want to cover the whole thing. You just want to kind of tap a little bit of that lighter yellow onto that other edge. I'll leave that one because it's the one I forgot and I have to fix. Okay, so we'll come back to this poor lonely little flower over here that I forgot. No, this isn't going in the hub. No, this is outside of the membership group. Okay. All right, so those are basically done, those little daisies. So at this point, what I did was with my lavender, I wanted to fill in. You can see kind of there's a few little spots here that look bare. So once I got my daisies in there, I wanted to just do a little filler. So I got my purple back out. My purple and white, we're going to mix those together a little bit. And I just freehand pulled in a few of those little lavender sprigs into here. Lavender flowers, I guess. Anyways, down here. In any of the spots that I thought needed something. So I'll put one in here maybe. Add a second coat on that with a little bit of white in it. All right, and let's see, right in here maybe there's a little spot. And again, you can put them wherever you like. It doesn't, you don't have to follow my lead. You can if you want, but I mean, if you decide to add them wherever you like, wherever you think it needs a little something. Okay, I'm trying to get some white on my brush here so that I can get a little contrast color in these. Not complying. Okay, and let me see, right in here looks like a good spot as well. Thank you, Kelly. Let's just throw a tiny little one in here. And I mean, down in here, just kind of have a look at it. I'm going to turn this guy upside down and put one down here at the bottom. Right in here, I think. And I mean, that could go on forever. You can add lavender flowers wherever, forever and ever. Amen. Wherever you see fit. And then as an extra filler, and I like to kind of build up these little filler flowers because it just makes everything look more full. Hi, Cheryl. And so I'm just going to use my little stylus, and I'm going to, let's see, you can see my white paint right there, right here. I'm just going to dip straight in, and this is where we're just going to add those little kind of baby's breath dots. And it might seem like, okay, well, that's easy, and it certainly is, but this changes how everything just kind of fills right in together when you start adding these little dots. And you can add these anywhere where you think there's a gap and it needs a little something. And I kind of went through the whole thing and just added these little tiny dots everywhere. So we'll just bear with me while I add a few of these every which way. But you can see how it just starts to now change how that looks. Oh, the link tree. Okay, I can add it to my link tree. That's easy. I will do it when I get off of here, Gail. I'll add it to that link. But you can go right into the website, and it's once you're in my website, my shop page, which is on that link tree, you can go into painting templates in the legend at the top, and it will take you to this and many others. But I can add it so that it's easier to find. All right, we've gone dot crazy here. But there, you can see how that just filled everything in a little bit more. And I mean, you can, have a look back at it. You can add a few more up in here. Let's add some more up on this side. And then we're going to add some big dots to our actual bunny cutout. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. That's why I kind of backed up, because I wanted you to be able to see the whole thing. So on my original here, you can see I added the big polka dots on the actual cutout. So these cutouts are available in my shop too. So if you can't get one in your area or whatnot, you can also find those on my page. All right, so what I'm going to use for my big dots is these sponges, and I got this at the dollar store, and these make the best dots. So if you can find those big round sponges, get you some, because they are the best. All right, so we are going to grab some clean white right here. I'm just going to wet my little sponge just a smidge. Try and get all of this in here. So I'm just going to go straight into my white. I kind of want to get it on the edges of that little sponge, and then we're just going to offload it kind of by turning it, squishing it down and turning it like that. And to make your dots, so now we got our paint on there. Everything's looking good. So to make your dots, I'm going to do some that are kind of going off the edges. So when I push down on this, I kind of give it a little twist. Otherwise, you might not get the whole full polka dot. Learned the hard way. So I'm just showing you how I learned to do these well. So you push down and then give it a twist to the right, and there's your dot. Perfect, perfect dot. Love these sponges. And then we'll just go around and we'll add some more. So we'll just add one there. Isn't that the most perfect polka dot you ever seen? So impressed. Impressed with my dots. All right, we'll put one there. Add a little more paint. We'll put a full one here. But that just adds to your background too, because it's kind of a bunny on a bunny cutout. And I thought, well, I think dots would look sweet on here. Just put a little one here, kind of off the edge. One over here off the edge. That's looking, I think, yes, and I put one here in the center of his head, kind of off the edge. And then we'll move on down to the leg portion. So I'm just kind of see where I place them. Sorry, I have a fuzz on there. So I put one here. One over here. So where did I put these guys? All right, one down here. Might not have enough paint. There we go, on my sponge. And one here. Okay, and there he is in all his glory. I'll clean that sponge out after, because I keep those for all these little projects, so I don't want the paint to dry in there. So also, having said that, the link I will be adding that for you, Gail, and into my link tree. But everything's 25% off, so the template will also be 25% off as well. But I think that is pretty much it. I know I have 3 minutes left, but here are the two little guys completed. But I think we're going to sign off because there's really not much else that we can do with this guy. So I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure you watch part 1 as well. And this is part 2. And thank you so much for joining me on my Craft Around the Clock segment. And we'll see you all next time, ladies. Have a great night.